Hi dear students, in today's class let's discuss question answers related to transportation and excretion in organisms. Before we discuss the question answers, let me show the answers for those multiple choice questions which was given in the previous class. Okay, the first one, the answer is urethra. The question was the diagram was given, and in that you need to identify the structure through which urine leaves the urinary bladder. So through the urethra the urine goes to urinary bladder. Then the next one, the kidney in human beings are the part of the system for excretion. The third question was the xylem in plants are responsible for dash. The answer is right. Answer is transport of water. And then which part of the plant is responsible for transpiration? It is leaves. The next question, the basic functional unit of kidney is nephrons. Seventh one, the main nitrogen containing waste excreted in urine is urea. And the next one, in amoeba excretion takes place through the process of so in a amoeba through the diffusion it removes all the waste products. And the ninth question, the major waste produced by human body are carbon dioxide and urea. So the answer is both 1 and 2, and the last one is renal arteries. So this is about the multiple choice question. Now let's move on to the question answers. Okay, the first one, what are the components of the transport system in human beings and what are the functions of these components? So there are three major components which helps to transport of substances. They are heart, blood and blood vessels. So let's see the functions of these components. First one, heart. It pumps the oxygenated blood throughout the body and receives deoxygenated blood, that is the blood rich in carbon dioxide, from various body parts and send it to the lungs. And it has four chambers. They are right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium and left ventricle. The next component is blood. It is a fluid connective tissue. It helps in the transport of oxygen, nutrients, carbon dioxide and nitrogenous waste. And the third component is blood vessels. Mainly there are three blood vessels: arteries, veins and capillaries. So arteries carry the blood away from heart to various organs of the body. So they carry oxygenated blood to the various parts of the body from the heart. And veins collects the deoxygenated blood from different body parts and bring it back to the heart. And the last one, capillaries. They are tiny blood vessels. They connects artery to veins, and also they helps to carry the nutrients and oxygen in the blood. Okay, this is about the components of transport system. The next one, the next question, why is necessary to separate oxygenated and deoxygenated blood in mammals and birds? So usually birds have three chambered heart and some mammals have two chambered heart. So how they regulate the circulation of blood? Okay, let's see the answer. Mammals and birds are warm-blooded animals which keep their body temperature constant irrespective of the environment they live. That means their body is adapted to live at any temperature. So they maintain constant body temperature by cooling themselves when they are in a hotter environment and by warming their bodies when they are in a cooler environment. So their body is adapted to live anywhere, so that they need more energy. Okay, so this process requires a lot of oxygen for more cellular respiration. So warm blooded animals produces more energy to balance their body temperature. So they need to balance their body temperature. So to balance their body temperature, they require more oxygen. That's what it is very important for them to separate a oxygenated and a deoxygenated blood, because to keep their circulatory system efficient. The next one, what are the components of the transport system in highly organized plant? So this we already discussed. In highly organized plants, there are two different types of conducting tissues. They are xylem and phloem. Xylem conducts water and minerals obtained from the soil to the rest of the plant. Phloem transports amino acids and food materials from the leaves to different parts of the plant body. So mainly there are two types of conducting tissues, xylem and phloem. Xylem conducts water and phloem conducts food. How are water and minerals transported in plants? The components of xylem tissue, that is tracheids and xylem vessels of roots, stem and leaves, are interconnected to form a continuous system of water conducting channel that reaches all parts of the plant. So transpiration creates a suction pressure, as a result of which water is forced into the xylem cells of the roots. Then there is a steady movement of water from the root xylem to all plant parts through the interconnected water conducting channel. So mainly this is possible because of there will be a interconnection between cells of the different parts of a plant. Through that, the water moves in a upward direction. And one more is transpiration. The transpiration pull also helps for the movement of water. The next is, how is food transported in plants? So phloem transports food materials from the leaves to different parts of the plant body, and the transportation of food in phloem, it is achieved by utilizing energy from ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. So they transfers the food by utilizing the energy, that is adenosine triphosphate. The next question, describe the structure and functioning of nephrons. So this is important, the diagram and its a function. This question you may get for the exam. Let's discuss the answers. Nephrons are the basic filtrating units of a kidney, and each kidney has large number of nephrons, and the main components of nephrons are Bowman's capsule, glomerulus and a long renal tubule. Now let's discuss the function of a nephron. Okay. So you have already drew the diagram of this nephron, so no need to draw it again. Only write the points. First, the blood enters into the kidney through renal artery, which branches into many capillaries associated with the glomerulus. So through the renal artery, blood enters into the glomerulus. Then the water and solute transfers into nephron at Bowman's capsule. So Bowman's glomerulus are associated with the Bowman's capsule. Then in the proximal distal, some substances such as amino acids, glucose, salts are reabsorbed, and other unwanted molecules are added to urine. Then the filtrate moves down into the loop of Henle, where more water is absorbed. From here, the filtrate moves upwards into the distal tubule, and finally it goes to the collecting duct where the urine is collected. And further, from collecting duct, urine goes to ureter. From ureter, it gets transported to urinary bladder and then into the urethra. So through the urethra, it passes out. So this is about the functioning of nephron. This already we discussed in the previous class. The next one is, what are the methods used by plants to get rid of excretory products? So we remove our waste substances through the excretory system. Similarly, plants also have some technique to remove the waste products. First point, the plant get rid of gaseous waste through stomata. So in lungs the exchange of gases takes place, right? Carbon dioxide and oxygen, that is in human. Similarly, in a plant, in stomata the exchange of gases takes place and it gives out oxygen, that is a waste product, is produced during photosynthesis process. So through the stomata it removes the gaseous waste, that is oxygen. Then plants can get rid of excess water by transpiration process. Through transpiration the excess water is removed. Then plants remove solid and liquid waste by shedding of leaves, then peeling of bark and felling of fruit. So in this way they remove all the solid and liquid waste. The other waste products are stored as resins and gums. In the picture you can see that the thick liquid is produced in the bark of the tree, that is waste. Then the last one is, plants also excrete some waste substances into the soil around them. So in this way the plants get rid of its waste products. Okay, next question, how is the amount of urine produced regulated? So how is the amount of urine produced regulated? The answer is, the amount of urine produced regulated by the kidney, and it depends on quantity of excess water and waste dissolved in water. That means if the quantity of water is more, then the large quantities of dilute urine is excreted out. When the water is less in quantity, then the small quantity of concentrated urine is excreted. And the dissolved waste also, when there is more quantity of dissolved waste in the body, more quantity of water is required to excrete them. Okay, therefore the amount of urine produced is also increases. Then the ninth question, what would be the consequence of deficiency of hemoglobin in our bodies? So what happens if there is a deficiency of hemoglobin, that is if the hemoglobin is not sufficient in our blood? So what happens? The deficiency of hemoglobin, it can affect the oxygen supplying capacity of blood. This can lead to deficiency of oxygen to the blood cells, and this leads to a disease called anemia. So what is anemia? It is the condition in which the blood doesn't have enough healthy red blood cells. So we feel sick, fatigue and shortness of breathing, dizziness, etc. So all these are the symptoms of anemia. The next question, describe double circulation of blood in human beings and why is it necessary? So what is double circulation? It is a single cycle, but blood goes twice in the heart. Okay, now let's have a small look of this heart. Actually, no need to draw it in the notes, but for the explanation purpose I use this diagram. Okay, here you see heart. Mainly our heart has 4 chamber, air, left atrium and left ventricle, right atrium and right ventricle. So the 4 chambers, and this side, that is left side, consists pure blood. Okay, this red color indicates pure blood, that is oxygen rich blood. And this side, the right side, consists deoxygenated blood, that is impure blood, carbon dioxide rich blood. Okay, now how the blood circulates in the heart is, so through the lungs, the oxygenated blood enters into the left atrium and then it goes to left ventricle, and left ventricle pushes the pure blood to the various parts of the body through aorta. Okay, then the impure blood through vena cava, either from upper body or from lower body, enters into the right atrium, and then this impure blood goes to right ventricle, and from right ventricle it goes to the lungs, and there it purify again. Then through the lungs, that purified blood enters into the left atrium. So this cycle is continuously occurs. Okay, and this is called double circulation. That means blood goes in two times. Blood goes two times in a heart. So it is called a double circulation. Okay, now let's see the answer. So double circulation means in a single cycle blood goes twice in the heart. So mainly it includes two steps: pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. Okay, what is pulmonary circulation? So the right ventricle, that is right ventricle, pumps deoxygenated blood into the lungs. Okay, it sends deoxygenated blood to the lungs where it is oxygenated. That means the carbon dioxide will be removed in the lungs. Then that blood consists oxygen. Then the oxygenated blood is brought back to the left atrium, and from there it is pumped into the left ventricle, and finally blood goes to the various parts of the body through aorta. Okay, then in the next cycle, that is systemic circulation, the oxygenated blood is pumped to various parts of the body from left ventricle. Then the deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body passes through vena cava to reach right atrium, and then the right atrium transfers the blood into the left ventricle. Then from left ventricle deoxygenated blood goes to the lungs. This is the process, and this circulation is considered a double circulation. Now what is the importance of this double circulation? Mainly this process helps in separating oxygenated and deoxygenated blood to maintain a constant body temperature. And also this double circulation avoids mixing of pure and impure blood. So the last question: what are the differences between the transport of materials in xylem and phloem? So this question is important. You may get the question for exam. Xylem and phloem. Xylem transports water and minerals. Phloem transports prepared food. The next one: water is transported in upward direction. Here food is transported in both upward as well as downward direction. Then the conduction takes place in xylem vessel and tracheids. Here the conduction takes place in sieve tube and companion cell. Then the conduction begins from root, and here the transportation begins from a leaf. So this is about the question answers. To get the PDF of this notes, click the link which is given in a description box. Thank you.